Welcome back on the Charles River as we're set for the women's heavyweight varsity. As we get set and we are underway, it looks like here from the Charles River as Radcliffe, Yale, and Northeastern set to go here in this varsity 8 matchup. The Chase Cup along with the Rollins Trophy on the line here for these three sides. And we'll take a look at the Northeastern lineup here to start. And for Northeastern, it'll look like this. It'll be Kira Bowen. That'll be the Cox. Abigail Keene, the stroke. Richie Costa in seat 7. Anna Kaplan in seat 6. Emma Samick in seat 5. Adrian Orioles will be in seat 4. Clara Caristeri in seat 3. Monica McEwen will be in seat 2. And Hannah Simons will be at the bow for the Northeastern Huskies. And for the Yale Bulldogs, their varsity 8, it'll be Abergita Kachuan, that will be the Cox. It'll be Daisy Mazio Manson, that will be the stroke. Margaret Hedman will be in the 7th seat. Margaret Saunders will be in the 6th seat. Arwen Neski will be in the 5th seat. Anna Matthews will be in the 4th seat. Ella von der Schulenberg will be in the 3rd seat. Claire Dirks will be in the 2nd seat. And Victoria Linau will be the bow for the Yale Bulldogs. And for Harvard Radcliffe, this was their probable lineup that they were going to put out there, and it's Catherine Paglione as the Cox. Tessa Rokes will be the stroke. Georgia Wheeler will be in the 7th seat. Desmond Goodwin in the 6th seat. Lucy Hamilton in the 5th seat. Stephanie Ebel will be in the 4th seat. Isabel Baston will be in the 3rd seat. Rafaela Stauff will be in the 2nd seat, and Erica Holmes will be the bow for Harvard. We are starting to see some push here from what looks to be Yale on that far side.
Yeah, it looks like Yale on the right has taken a little bit of a lead over Harvard, Radcliffe in the middle, and then Northeastern on the left side. You'd expect this race to be really between Yale and Radcliffe. Go back to last year, it was a 5.5-second victory for Yale, and they pulled out to a really solid start in this one, and it looks like a slight lead over the Crimson. There might be some open water between Radcliffe and Northeastern there on the left side. This has been a trophy in the case of the Case Cup that the Bulldogs have won for the last 7 years, and then there's been a similar type of dominance at the Rollins Trophy. Harvard has won it over Northeastern the last 8 times and 19 of the last 20, holding an all-time series lead of 30-5. Northeastern last won against Radcliffe back in 2010, and you can see as they make their way for the Harvard Bridge, it is Yale with a lead of about half a boat, maybe a little bit more than that against Radcliffe. As you see that Yale is really, really strong here. It's an outstanding Yale crew, and yeah, they're put nearly a full boat length in front of Radcliffe.
Terrific start for Yale, but as we saw earlier in that second varsity, we'll see if Radcliffe kind of takes that same approach with their first varsity. A great push late was able to propel them to a win in that second varsity matchup earlier this morning. And again, you mentioned the Chase Cup. It has been dominated by Yale. Last year, this was a race that was set again right around this time with the temperatures. They sat in the high 40s, but there was some sun, much warmer day that day here on the Charles. And again, for Yale, this has been a dominating performance that they have seen through these last couple of seasons. But for Radcliffe, we talked about it, Alex. We saw their improvement from their second varsity just a year ago from what they did last season, and now the varsity team here really starting to make a push as we approach that bridge.
Yeah, you know, for the Yale program, 3 of the Yale rowers have been invited to participate in the 2019 U23 Women's National Team Selection Camp. Those are Margaret Saunders, Daisy Mazio Manson, and the Cox Aparajita Chuan. And all 3 on this Yale Varsity 8 boat. It's been last couple of years that they've been involved in some of the national activities. And one of the Yale assistant coaches, Jamie Snyder, is an assistant coach for the U.S. team. So that connection is there, and that's pretty great to be able to be a part of that national tryout pool, an opportunity to make the national team. And you know, for a strong program like Yale, you'd expect to have rowers like that in contention. How about 3 on this one varsity 8 boat.
Now we see that Bulldogs have started to increase their lead, but once again, Harvard Radcliffe made a terrific push in that second varsity race, and we'll see if they can do that here. Of course, Northeastern will be down at the bottom of the screen as they approach towards this finish line.
Yale has settled into a really comfortable stroke rate of about 36 strokes per minute, which is a little bit north of where Harvard has been, and Bulldogs look comfortable, like they're able to maintain that throughout the rest of this race, and probably kick it up here as they enter into the final 500 meters, but been able to cruise to a solid lead, and Harvard Radcliffe well out in front of Northeastern there, not even in the picture as we rumble toward the finish. But right now this is looking like the Bulldogs race to win. The Yale First Varsity has won 12 of the 15 races they've been in. Although they split last week, they lost to Princeton, team ranked just ahead of them in the standings, but they beat Texas, which was ranked number 4 in the country, beat them by less than a second.
An impressive performance last week for Yale, and right now an impressive performance being had on the Charles River for the Yale Bulldogs. They have stretched their advantage and are going to make the final push here towards that finish line. Harvard Radcliffe falling behind in second, and Northeastern trailing in third. But there you see the Yale Bulldogs and a terrific final push as they have started to really stretch the gap and are looking for yet another Chase Cup.
Yeah, they've upped their stroke rate, so they've got that finishing sprint in there. They've been able to open up a good lead over Harvard, and once again the Case Cup is going to go back to New Haven as Yale with a terrific effort here in the Charles.
So Yale the winners as they cross the finish line and are able to take down Harvard Radcliffe and Northeastern, and they will take the Case Cup back with them as Harvard Radcliffe crosses the finish line. Northeastern will follow behind, but the Maury Cup will stay with the Crimson. So, Alex, again, an impressive performance by Yale, but for Harvard, a very impressive performance over top of Northeastern as well.
Yeah, it looked like the margin between Harvard and Yale was about 4 or 5 seconds. The margin between Radcliffe and Northeastern was closer to 20 seconds. So a great performance by the Yale Varsity 8. Harvard Radcliffe did well as well, but in the end, it's the Bulldogs for the 8th consecutive year retaining the Case Cup, and the Radcliffe team for the 9th consecutive year winning the Rollins Trophy.
So the Case Cup is to be had, and the Harvard Crimson able to defeat Northeastern as they win this one here, and we will step aside. We come back, we'll have more for you here from the Charles River. This is the Ivy League on ESPN.